of the transition. Bishop Ousley, what have you learned from your own experiences overseeing Title IV investigations, including your own experience in your investigation? And then secondly, how will that impact how you respond to Title IV complaints should they arise while you're serving as Bishop Provisional in Wyoming? And the last part of this, which I can repeat if you need me to, what counsel and support would you provide to the person bringing the complaint as well as the person the complaint is against?
Mary Beth, will you repeat that from the top?
Yes,
Just
I'd
so
be
I've got
glad
it in
to.
my head. Yeah.
And if you want, I can stop before that last one, and then after you answer that.
No, I think I've got that one. So if you'll just repeat the first part.
You bet. What have you learned from your own experience overseeing Title IV investigations, including your experience being the subject of a Title IV investigation? And then how will you, or how will that impact how you respond to Title IV complaints should they arise while you're serving in Wyoming as a bishop provisional?
Okay, thank you.
Well,
The my experience as a Title IV intake officer for matters involving bishops really focused my my understandings of Title IV. While I had multiple other tasks in my role as Bishop for Pastoral Development, a significant part of the work was around Title IV. And most of my friends and colleagues in the House of Bishops will say things like, "Thank you. We're so glad that you're willing to do that," which is another way of saying we are so thankful we don't have to. Um, um, Title IV sometimes gets characterized as the underbelly, the dark side of the church, and it's certainly true that Title IV can be a moment where you're having to deal with some really difficult matters. But what I found to be fulfilling about that work, which is a somewhat odd kind of thing to say, is that the focus of Title IV is really captured in the very opening statements of Title IV in the canons of the church. And it lays out what it's intended to be. And it basically, I'm just going to paraphrase, it says that all Christians by nature, by virtue of our baptism, are called to be in right relationship, and when things are broken, to strive to heal that brokenness. And that the aim of Title IV is reconciliation, healing, amendment of life, justice, healing kinds of actions, reconciling kinds of actions. It's a beautiful statement that says, despite our lofty goals as Christians, we're human and we're going to fail. And Title IV is the church's way of saying, we're going to take these goals, these aspirational goals, so seriously that we are going to create mechanisms to help us right the ship when we're sinking, to bridge that gulf when we're separated, to really live into our vocation to be ministers of reconciliation and healing. So it's a real honor to be involved in that. And spending the better part of 7 years doing that work in a focused sort of way really gave me an opportunity to see how important it is for the church to take seriously those roles. And I got an opportunity to do things on a regular basis in reconciliation and healing that others don't get to practice as regularly and as often in such clear kinds of ways. Now, did it all go perfectly? Certainly not. Were there situations where parties could just not be brought together? Certainly. Did I make some mistakes along the way? Absolutely. We all have human failings. But what I learned is the power of taking every situation with unique individuals and unique communities affected by misguided or inappropriate behavior, to take all of that and to treat each situation as its own unique possibility for reconciliation and healing. There is no one formula to make this happen. Um, you got different people coming together, different expectations, different circumstances, different effects, uh, deep effects, sometimes painful but fairly surface effects. It's a whole big, complicated human mix and mess. Um, and that's just how life is. So it's been an honor to do that. And what it's done is not only reinforced for me the importance of actively pursuing reconciliation and healing, but also that we've got to do it in a way that's meaningful to the people that you're sitting down at table with. You can't you can't do things in Wyoming exactly the way you do things in Michigan. You can't do things in New York the same way you do them in California or Texas or Mississippi or Florida or Montana or Wyoming or anywhere, because we're all beautiful children of God who occasionally get sideways with one another and sideways with ourselves. So it's been a gift to do that. So I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about what's really important within the church. I've also learned that as a human institution trying to do God's work, the church, it wasn't a new revelation, but it's been reinforced. The church is not perfect either. We we give it our best shot, and sometimes our best shot just isn't enough. And sometimes, in spite of our failings, God works with that and really wonderful healing things happen. Some practical pieces that I've learned. It's very easy to get wrapped up in a Title IV matter, a matter where there's a separation between people and or communities, to get so wrapped up in that that we go to the canons and the black and white, and we focus on doing step one and step two. And if two doesn't work, what is 3A or B? What are the options? And if that doesn't work, and just following deadlines and guidelines about how to do this. Those are all really important and very critical. But there's also a human and pastoral dimension. So as a bishop working in Wyoming, where it's possible that we will have some Title IV matters that come to us, my goal is to engage the community that is the diocese more fully, so that it's not just the bishop and the intake officer and the president of the disciplinary board, with a little bit of help from the chancellor or others who might get involved, but to know that we need to have a robust program of intake, and to be intentive, or to be intentional, um, to look at what the needs are. And I want to discuss this with the leadership in Wyoming, but for now, what I can say I would bring to that conversation is, who do we have as intake officers today? Do we have a man? Do we have a woman? Do we have laypersons? Do we have ordained? Do we have the possibility of a deacon who can work with deacons or priests with priests? Do we have the fullness? What about our indigenous communities? Um, are they represented? Is their voice present in the disciplinary structures of the diocese? And then, alongside that kind of attention to a more holistic approach, also to begin to develop a pastoral care and pastoral support team so that when something develops, we're prepared to respond immediately and not have to scramble and spend an inordinate amount of time trying to get the resources in place. My experience in Wyoming has been that people are eager to help, that people are very good listeners, that you've got your ear to the ground about what's going on. And I think we're going to find we've got lots of folks who will be willing and anxious to be a part of this kind of healing and reconciling ministry within the diocese. Thank you.